Welcome to the latest episode of Bucher and Hollins, part of the Bucher and Friends podcast, subsidiary of United WeCast Network. And it is that time where we give you the best picks, the best bets for a Friday night. But before we get to that, Mr. Hollins, we do have a couple of games that we need to chew over. We had the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics, and we had the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Which of those two games and those results was most telling or interesting to you?
Man, this is a toss-up. I mean, obviously you're going to err on the side of LeBron, but as expected, Rick, we talked about this the last time we were on. I knew that Boston would win. OKC, they just struggle offensively. It's their defense that really gets them through, but they just don't have enough, man, and they do not execute down the stretch, and you saw it again. When those guys need it, you're not seeing it, you're not getting it, and it really gets exposed in the playoffs. But, dude, Boston is really good, so I don't want to make it seem like this was just a regular old team that beat them.
Yeah, it's difficult because they got out to the early lead. They started out strong. You knew that they were going to give it back at some point and that Boston was going to climb back into it. Boston obviously poses some problems. They're the team that I have winning it all this year. They flexed why. Because they can get it from so many different places. Al Horford was the guy doing the damage when they needed, hitting 3 consecutive threes. But what hurts me is I'm a big believer in Russ Westbrook. I'm not one of those guys who kills him for shooting threes because I think his form and his shot are decent enough, but he's not Steph Curry. He's not Ray Allen. And so in need situations with the game tied, I don't want him shooting a three. I want him getting to that mid-range pull-up, trying to get to the rim, and it always seems all or none. When Russ gets it, he's going to do something, he's going to do something dynamic, but everybody in the building knows that he's going to do it. There's never I'm going to drive and draw all the attention, and then I'm going to drop it off to somebody for an easy finish. And that, to me, has to be part of the equation. I love that he goes and gets it. I love that he has the supreme confidence, but last night was a perfect example. 2 threes at the end of the game. They were online. They were okay, but he doesn't shoot it well enough for in those need situations for him to take it. And I look at it and it kills me.
But Rick, when we talked, I told you they don't have spacing. So even if it was a drive and kick game, who does he kick it to? He did go to his mid-range. He shot some threes, but he got to the mid-range. He tried to get to the rim, just there was nothing there. And the worst thing about it is that they aren't bad shots that were taken, but you tell me the ball movement or the trickery before he gets a shot that you can get any time. To me, that's not on Russ. That's on Billy D saying, get down there, run a set, and we can get you that same look even better. Because if I said, hey, Russ, can you get to your pull-up jumper? We don't need to run a play to do that. But guess what? Everybody and their mama knows that he's about to get to a pull-up jumper because the defense is just sitting there.
Yeah, the difficulty is, and this has always been the problem, the perplexing problem with Russ, is the fact that he is arguably pound for pound the quickest, most athletic guy in the league. And so do you want to make that guy play in a set, or do you want to allow him the opportunity to just try to take advantage of his physical advantage? And at this point, they're going to have to pull the reins on that, because it hasn't been consistent enough. And Abrinas hit a couple threes. Patrick Patterson hit a 3. I think he was 1 for 2. I think they have enough floor spacers. Again, he didn't look for that drive even to the pull-up and then see what else is there. I would rather have him drive and shoot from the elbow unless you need a 3 than to take the 3. And I felt like he kind of settled for the 3 twice. And at this point, somebody just needs to tell him, Russ, we know you can shoot it. We know you've hit big threes. You don't hit it consistently enough for us to rely on that. All right, enough of that because it's still early. I'm going to give the Thunder more time to find themselves. I'm not closing the door on them.
Hey, man, Terrence Ferguson's man sitting right on the elbow waiting for Russ.
All right, you watching video? Are you replaying video now?
No, I'm just saying, where is he supposed to go? I don't know where he's supposed to go, man.
Well, how about
Raymond Felton's man is sitting right on the elbow.
How about
he's sitting right there?
How about we probe a little bit? How about we play a little high pick and roll? Are they going to trap it out of him?
they're going to go under because they can help off on the row. I can tag Steven Adams and I can roll back out on Paul George. I'm going to have to stay home. Okay, so I just got to not leave Paul George. We help from the strong side off them. Like, this is ugly. This is a problem. LeBron James is another downhill guy. And LeBron James is always either poised with now in LA with other playmakers or knockdown shooters. You could not help. As soon as you helped, LeBron would be hitting those wide open guys, and it was a problem.
Well, this was my problem.
Why can't Russ have that?
Let's take it to the Lakers, because this is the same. This could be the same thing. The Oklahoma City Thunder could be doing the same thing that the Lakers are doing, because the guys that LeBron is hitting are back cutting baseline from the corners. Look, Paul Millsap, I have a lot of respect for his game. It is a fundamental be able to see your man in the ball at the same time. Take an angle where you can see your man in the ball. The number of times that he got back cut tonight, simply because he didn't know where his guy was when LeBron was coming, he turned, had no idea where the guy was, and got burned. I expect better out of him. And the Nuggets in general, they showed me that they aren't ready for prime time.
Yeah, but Rick, is that his fault? He's ball watching LeBron James, the dude who can come downhill and dunk on your head. I mean, do we really fault him for that? Because LeBron makes that play a lot.
Because he's not stepping up to challenge that. So he's in no man's land. He's not protecting the corner. He's not protecting the cutter. He got lost, kind of mesmerized. Do I go? Do I not go? He was in no man's land. I don't want to say half a dozen times, but at least 2 or 3 times. And you know how it is with young teams. Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball get a couple back cuts. They get a couple dunks. They were feeling themselves. And I'm not going to put all this on Paul. But look,
Rick, I think that's part of a LeBron effect, because he is that good that when you don't help or you're not watching, he's almost going to hold you bay. And as a defender on the weak side or strong side, wherever you are, when the guy with the basketball is looking at you, dude, it screws you up because you're like, I'm stuck. But if he's looking somewhere else, I can tag, I get back, he's not burning. But LeBron's staring him down, bro. That puts you in a very bad space to be in, and then knowing he can burn his man to the hole anytime.
Okay, so you're telling me that I got to give up the back cut? And I don't want to make this sound like I got all the answers. I'm just saying it's a heck of a... I know how difficult it is.
It's a heck of a play by LeBron James, and he's not comfortable guarding a shooter. And if I'm looking at Kyle Kuzma's scouting report, my mindset is saying, all right, I just got to close out to the 3. I'm going to watch LeBron, and when the ball goes, I'm closing out to the 3. Oh, snap, he's cutting behind my head. Heck of a move, Kuzma.
Okay, I'll give you that. Well, I'm not going to.
I'm giving you both sides.
I know it's putting Paul in a difficult situation, and the problem was that Paul wasn't exploiting it at the other end. Like, he couldn't get anything done. Neither he nor Jokic. They're taking guys down, and this is why I expected the Nuggets to win, because I thought Jokic and Millsap would do damage. Either Jokic was going to work from the high post and pull JaVale McGee out, and they were going to get back cuts, which they got a decent number on the Lakers. Or Jokic was going to back down if he was guarded by Williams or Kuzma or whoever they were playing undersized at the 5. He did some of that. He made a couple. He missed more than he made. And Paul Millsap couldn't get anything done. He was getting to a good spot, and he couldn't finish. And ultimately, every time they didn't finish, the Lakers were off to the races, and that's how that game turned. But in the bigger picture, you know what I felt in watching that? First of all, let's all slow our roll on anointing Nikola Jokic a franchise player. He's a good player. Defensively, he's susceptible when it comes to this kind of pace of play. And offensively, he had 6 turnovers. The game, I don't know whether it was the speed of the game or the magnitude of the game. Playing on TNT, playing in LA, playing against LeBron and the Lakers. But the Denver Nuggets, to me, from top to bottom, I was looking for that guy. Jamal Murray was the closest thing to that guy, but he's not, as you like to say, he's not an alien. From a physical standpoint, he's not an alien.
No, he's not.
He's got the guts and he's got the shot, but he's not a physical alien. And so I look across the board at the Denver Nuggets, and it's why they were just a little bit short of making the playoffs last year, and why, in spite of this start, they're going to come back to earth. They showed it in this game. They were playing way too fast early on. You could just tell. They didn't come in like they were the team that was undefeated and that was the second best scoring defense in the league.
Well, you and I both know at the end of the day, when we go pound for pound, we look at rosters, and you got LeBron James, and you look over on your team, and you don't have a LeBron James. You don't have a guy who can guard him. You don't have a guy in the same ballpark as LeBron James. However it shapes up, however good you've been playing and however bad we've been playing, that ends up being a problem. The one thing, they're a disciplined team. They work hard as heck. Mike Malone, playing for him, he's disciplined, man. I love him. He doesn't miss a beat. But there's only so much he can do with his lineups. Jokic is going to struggle. And how would I put this? Jokic has the game of a grown man, an old grown man. He's slow. He shoots the three. He'll get you in foul trouble. He'll pass. He will bait you into the post for 9 or 10 dribbles until you help, and he'll dump. He's a grown old man. Right. You know what? But you know what? On a TNT game, in a big time game, Rick, the whistle is swallowed just a little bit more. They're not calling those same fouls because they want the players to decide the game. Where on a regular, just run-of-the-mill game that you're not seeing that's nationally televised, that whistle's not going to be the same, Rick. Yeah. So now they kind of let their guys play. And also, let's not take credit away from the Lakers. They moved on a string tonight. They swarmed the basketball. My biggest frustration is that if you go small defensively, Rick, you have to let that be an asset rather than a liability. What do I mean by saying asset versus liability in a small lineup? Rick, I mean when the rebound goes up, you got to have 5 guys swarming to the basketball. When the ball gets kicked out, you guys got to fan out at the same time. It does no good to be small if you don't use your speed. You don't use your assets. And tonight, Rick, there's a respect for Jokic, and they swarmed that basketball, and they swarmed a lot of rebounds, Rick.
They also didn't foul as much as they had. They actually won. They won the battle at the free throw line, and that's where the Denver Nuggets have been feasting. They have been scoring at will from there. As you said, they didn't get the same kind of calls that they are used to getting, but more important, the Lakers did, and they've been one of the worst teams in terms of putting teams on the free throw line. I think only the Wizards have allowed the opponent more free throw attempts, at least through the first 3 or 4 games. Now, against Phoenix and against Denver, the Lakers have changed that for the first time. We'll see if they'll be able to hold that up. All right, we need to get to our picks for the weekend, and I know that you are all over this, right?
White on rice. Where are we starting?
We're going to start with, we have a sponsor, Ryan, for this particular podcast, Sports Bet Collective.
Oh,
yeah. Let's be real. Betting on sports makes the games a lot more fun to watch. And we are here to give you NBA picks of the week. Now, I'm going to do that on a weekly basis for sportsbetcollective.com with commentary, insider knowledge. You're not going to find any place else. But Ryan,
I feel like this is stealing. I feel like this is stealing, Rick. I feel like this is not bad. Like, this is stealing. Like, this is too easy. I feel wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I feel
wrong by telling people this.
By the way, our picks last week, we went 3 out of 4. The only one we didn't get was the over-under on the Brooklyn Nets. And over-under is going to be very interesting to see because as you and I talked about when we made those picks, because of the way they're officiating, because they got the reset on offensive rebounds to 14 seconds, not 24 seconds now, a lot more shots are going up. The pace is a lot quicker. All of that means more fouls called, means more points scored with the clock stopped, and it means more shots being put up. And so Vegas got killed the first week. Basically, if you bet over on everything, you were making big cash. It has started to balance out a little bit. They've gotten smarter and they've dropped them. For example, the Nuggets Lakers was set at 236, and I said take the under.
Yeah, that's a beastie one.
Yeah, well, they finished at 235. They had me nervous. Thank you, LeBron James, for missing 1 of 2 at the end of that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Otherwise, I would have been looking at a push. Appreciate you. So, in any event, That's something to keep an eye on, and we're going to discuss that when it comes to a couple of over-unders here. I want to start with the Pelicans are hosting the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are getting 9.5 points. The Pelicans, by the way, when it comes to over-under against the spread, they are killing it when it comes to any bets on them. Here's the question. Do you think they can sustain it? And do you think without question that they're a 9.5 point favorite over the Nets? Do you think they get that done?
Yeah, I think they get that done. The one thing the Pelicans have done this year is they really pushed the pace, and they picked up where they left off from when Boogie Cousins went out and Mirotic went in and got into the starting lineup. But they're really pushing the ball and playing at a hellish pace, Rick. And I'm going to go at that. I'm going to go with the Pelicans right now for 9.5 and at home. They just got some good energy going there. And Brooklyn's still in that. They're a gray area team. They're kind of like, dude, what are you doing? So I'm going Pels.
I will say, though, the Nets are competitive. They're another one of those Eastern guys. I think the Bulls are the same way. Like, I don't know how many games they're going to win, but they're not going to roll over. They're not like the Philadelphia 76ers in their embryonic stage where you look at them and you go, these guys are going to get run by 16 or 18 on a regular basis. Every once in a while, they'll give you an effort. So the 9.5 is tricky. I'm inclined to go with you. The Pelicans on a roll. They're at home. I don't think that they're going to slow down now. Now, the over-under is set at 237, which is pretty healthy. The big question will be not whether the Pelicans can hold up their end of the bargain, but you got to look at the Nets scoring, say around, 110. They got to break 100 in order to make that number work, I would think. Even if you got the Pels winning by, say, 15. You're talking about...
Nah, I'm going under, bro. That 237 is a monster. I'm going under that.
Okay. I'm inclined to go with you at this point. All right. This is one of the more interesting ones because we got James Harden out. We got Chris Paul coming back. It's against the Clippers, his old team. There have to be... You played with him there, right? There still have to be some feelings for Chris every time he sees that Clippers uniform.
I think every time Chris sees Doc, there's going to be some oddness. I mean, he wouldn't even surprise me knowing the guy that Chris is, that he doesn't go shake Doc's hand or is it how you do. I don't know how deep this thing has gotten, but yeah, there's some oddness.
So with that in mind, the Rockets are giving the Clippers 3, and the over-under is at 218. I feel as if the Clippers can win this one, which obviously then I would take the 3 points. I think this is a tough Clippers team, and they have, like, with Gilgeous Alexander, I feel as if they have the athletes that they can make the game hard on Chris without having James, without having that other proven scorer next to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Clippers are probably the deepest team in basketball right now, and they've got depth to throw at Chris, defensively, but even better, that second unit can go win you games, and Lou Williams is playing lights out, on the offensive side of things. And they're kind of figuring things out. It really is a good group of guys. So no, I'm going Clips. I'm going Clips on there.
All right. And then the money line is 130. So if you bet 100, you get 130. I would go with that as well. The over under is 218. Where are you going on that?
They're going over that.
Yeah.
They're going over that. Houston's still going to jack it up. Eric Gordon's still playing. Gerald Green, that means he'll probably get the start. He'll probably be an upgrade from James Ennis shooting wise offensively, but they're going to get their shots up.
That's a good point. All right, Wizards Kings. The Kings are getting 4.5. They're at home. They are a home dog, and the Wizards and the Kings are a combined 8-1. Wherever the over-under is. Now, they're both scoring big time. If they meet their averages, they're blowing past 236. They're combining for like 245, 250 if they're hitting their averages. Is there any reason to think that they won't? Is there any reason to think that this won't be a track race?
No, there's nothing that leads me to think that Dwight Howard is still out, and that means without your starting center or a true rim protector, you're going to get up and down. There's going to be a lot of scoring, a lot of rebounds, a lot of fouling. That's what rim protection takes away, is all those. It pretty much cleans up all those mistakes. I'm actually going to go the Wizards on this game. You got two Kentucky guards are going to be going at it. I think John's going to have something to prove to De'Aaron, and he's still got some kind of older brother type of stuff in the tank. So I'm going Wiz, even though it's on the road. They got embarrassed by Golden State. They got absolutely embarrassed, and you've got to come back and make amends for that. So I'm going Wiz.
Speaking of which, we didn't talk about the performance by Steph Curry. MVP talk, which he looks like he's found another gear. He's risen to another level. He looks so comfortable within the game. I don't have a problem with the talk about him being MVP. I think you were the one who said in the last NBA Finals that he was robbed of being the MVP, that he deserved to be the MVP because of the things that he does. And I think people don't appreciate how he balances allowing KD to score, finding a way to keep KD firing, Clay firing, and at the same time finding his own game and distributing the ball and balancing all of that. So I'm with you on that. But I do have this reservation, and this always bothers me. He was transcendent the other night. He found that zone, right? Where the ball was barely touching his hands and he was letting it go. It's this unconscious level where you just think everything's going in. You just need to let it go and let it fly. And everybody's like, he's unstoppable. It's like, no, he's stoppable. Nobody stays in that zone all the time. And the Wizards never, I don't know if they could have done anything to get him out of it, but they didn't go out of their way I think they felt like, okay, he's not going to continue to jack these shots. He's not going to continue to hit these ridiculous shots. They kind of kept waiting for him to cool off, and he never did. I struggle with when everybody, like all the talk, like he's going to do this all the time. No, this was a very special, amazing performance. But if you think that he can take and make those kind of shots all the time, you're out of your freaking mind. Nobody stays in that zone like that with those kind of shots all the time. It doesn't happen. So let's just slow our roll like Steph is this unstoppable force. He is when he gets that hot, but he's not always going to be that hot. There are ways to make him struggle. He will have off games. He will take those same shots and he'll miss the first two, and then he'll decide, I can't continue to take these. And then the game changes.
Yeah, but do you have a guy on your roster that's going to play that's a Dellavedova type of guy that is disciplined enough to literally chase him around the floor and literally never leave him? And then not just one guy, several guys. Yeah. Because all that happens is you set an on-ball pick or you screen that guy or something happens and you switch out and then the next guy falls asleep. Mm-hmm. And a lot of his damage was done in transition. Mm-hmm. So you got to locate Steph as soon as you come across the court. So he's very capable of doing that. It may not look the same, but all he has to do, look, he's a dude that you literally play him dribble used all the time. He can get to the rim. What do I mean by dribble used? Dribble used means somebody's dribbled the ball and they pick it up and they can't dribble again. So you smother the heck out of them.
Right.
While Steph Curry has a live dribble, you have to play him dribble used.
Yeah.
Which means you smother the heck out of it. That's why he can literally get to the rim at will. Now, he may have to do it with twos if there's an intelligent team there, but the dude can score. He's almost got to temper his scoring, how well that he shoots the ball and scores, because he don't want to twist an ankle. He don't want to. I mean, it's like layup lines, dude, when he goes to the rim.
Right. Here's the thing. Those shots that he was making, and you make a great point about that he was hitting those in transition. So it's kind of difficult when he's pulling up from 27 feet in transition, kind of in a crowd, but not in a crowd. You think it's those situations where you think he's guarded or he's too far away from the basket and he's launching it. Those are really bad shots if they don't go in. Because everybody is headed toward their rim. That's a long rebound, and that's an easy bucket going the other way. When he's making them, it's a killer. But when he's not, I mean, it really is a feast or famine move. And so that's what the Wizards were facing. You do that night in and night out, honestly, you're going to lose more games than you're going to win. And he's smart enough to know that you do the heat check, and if it's not there, he's got other things he can go to. But we have to keep that in mind when we start like judging what he did the other night and thinking that that's going to be a regular deal. That was
he can cook off for 50 tomorrow. Now keep in mind that was 51 3/4. He can cook off for 50. He can, but I think the big question, Rick, it ain't that his skill level. He ain't healthy enough, bro. He don't want to wear his body out to do that night in and night out. Yeah. That's more of the factor.
Well, and that's the other part too, is can he stay healthy? Because you've seen it, and you were talking about Dellavedova and finding somebody like that. Like, I look at the Clippers with Avery Bradley and Pat Beverly. That's a nice combo to go to chase him around and to try to just get him off his game a little bit. You know, honestly, it's not like a hard foul, but you just gotta make him feel you. You gotta just get into it a little bit so he's not. I mean, he's just so free flowing the other night. He certainly didn't know that there were any Wizards on the court. He was not aware of anybody in red, white, and blue.
When you do the Jordan shrug, you know it's a problem.
Well, what about the airplane and the threes? I mean,
he's got a number. Yeah,
it was like a Broadway show. It was Cirque du Soleil. He was playing to the crowd, and I can't blame him because he was en fuego. There's no.
Were you? By the way, Jordan, were you watching the game when Jordan did the shrug?
Yes.
So, my understanding, and I heard this story kind of secondhand from Clyde Drexler, is that they were going at the Bulls, and he said Mike is a little smaller than him. He was posting them up. You know, Jordan was missing all his shots. He was off, not knocking down his threes. And the game plan was kind of like let Michael shoot, use your length and contest. And it was working all night long. And the game gets close and Mike gets hot. Mm-hmm. And Mike knocks down the three. And he knew he was just off all night. And then that's where the shrug came from. Just kind of like, hey, like, I guess it went in. Yeah. It's me. Hey, I figure it. You know, how was your account of that moment, the shrug?
Yeah, well, he hit a couple. And the fact was he did it to the broadcast crew. That's who he was looking at when he did it. It was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not known for this, but it was. And honestly, it was. It was, what am I going to do? I'm hitting threes. I'm going to keep doing it. Man. So, by the way, that whole Drexler-Jordan relationship, that carried on to the Dream Team. I don't know if you've ever heard this story. So, Clyde somehow mistakenly put 2 left shoes in his bag to go to practice. And there was no way to get back to the hotel in time to get one of his other shoes, so he wore the 2 left shoes.
Wow.
Now imagine, I can't, it's even hard for me to imagine how
that hurts.
How much that hurt to practice in that.
Yeah.
In any event, Jordan looked down and noticed that he was wearing 2 left shoes, and he wore Drexler out on wearing the 2 left shoes. Just relentless. I mean, just beat him down with how ridiculous that was. And Drexler, figuratively and literally, had to just wear it. But that rivalry, going from the game you talked about to the 92 Dream Team, Jordan tried to give it to Drexler every single practice. And when that shoe thing happened, he saw his opening, and he mentally beat the bleep out of Drexler when it came to that. So, yeah, there's some history there between those two guys. All right, there's only one other game I was curious about with you, and that's the Bulls and the Hornets. The Bulls are without Chris Dunn. They're now going to be out without Bobby Portis. He's got a sprained MCL. Lauri Markkanen has been out. This one's intriguing to me because Cameron Payne showed me something, and I know people have been up and down on him, but he has stepped up and played, and there was a lot of people who thought he was just a little too nutty to get the job done. The Bulls are one of those teams that believed in him. He's done a nice job filling in for Chris Dunn. And I look at the Portis thing really hurts them. But I'm not sold on the Hornets. I'm not in love with their team or the way they play. And I think this 9.5, I think I would take the Bulls in the 9.5. I don't know that the Hornets are beating them by double digits.
I'm going with the Hornets. I just think home court is there. I think they're still an older, a little more experienced team.
Yeah.
I'm going Hornets there. Okay. Now, obviously, things can happen. I'm not completely comfortable with this, but I like the Hornets.
All right. We will leave it there. Again, we are now sponsored by sportsbetcollective.com. They're going to help you beat the odds no matter the size of your bet. It's for under $1 per pick. You can catch all of my picks are going to be listed at sportsbetcollective.com. The ones that we give you here are for free. There are other picks that I make during the week that you got to spend the buck, but it's a buck well worth it considering what you're getting out of it. He's Ryan. I'm Rick. Enjoy the weekend. Next Monday, I'll be back with my man Will Blackman. We'll be breaking down all of the games from Sunday.